Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Macmillan Education Iberia Online Teachers' Day for Private Language Schools. My name is Louise Connolly. I'm the Head of Events Management at Macmillan Education Iberia. I'm delighted that you could all join us here this morning, and thank you very much for putting your hellos in the chat. And I see that it's mainly cloudy, not very sunny in the north, but in the south, I've seen that in Seville and Jaén and Cádiz, the sun is out, so lucky you. Let's see if the weather improves. I do believe that there's going to be good weather this weekend, so fingers crossed. And I'm delighted you could join us. This event is aimed at teachers in private language schools, teachers who are teaching young learners, adults. The second session on adults will probably also be relevant for teenagers, as we know a lot of activities that we use with other levels can be adapted. So hopefully there is something there in the talks for everybody. During the talks today, we would like to encourage participation from you. At different points in each talk this morning, we will launch what we call polls, which are questions with multiple choice answers. These will appear on your screen, and all you have to do is tick the relevant box for you. And the results will appear on the screen. Also, the speakers will ask you questions to which you can respond in the chat during the talks. It's very important, I think, to encourage this kind of interaction between us. It's a wonderful opportunity to bring so many teachers together today, and to have these teachers, teacher trainer experts like Sky and Claire here today to share their ideas, their experience with all of us. So I would like to introduce our first speaker, Schuyler Hedstrom. I call him Sky. We've been working together now for many years. And Sky is a teacher trainer, actor, director. He has taught theatre to over 2,000 children in Madrid. He has been teaching English through theatre for over 15 years, I believe, in Madrid. And he is a very dynamic person, as you can see from his CV. And his ideas are extremely practical, based on his own experience. This is a wonderful opportunity to have somebody who is in the classroom like you, who understands your circumstances and can offer very practical solutions, particularly now for the time that we're living in, where we're finding that we have to teach online or hybrid or some face-to-face. You know, we're facing a lot of challenges at the moment, and Sky is facing those challenges, and so is Claire. So I'm sure that they will be able to offer lots of very useful and relevant ideas and activities for you. And Sky's talk today is called Eyes on the Prize. It's aimed at teachers of young learners. So I'm going to be quiet now and pass over to Sky. Welcome, Sky.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be able to see you virtually and share my ideas with you. I'm going to start by sharing my PowerPoint, and you will can look at my face and the PowerPoint at the same time. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Perfect.
Great. So we're going to start. with a poll. So the question I have is, what is the best way to motivate young learners? A lot of my talk today is about motivation. As Louise said, it's a challenging year for everyone, and maybe motivation has been lacking in our classes. So I think any of these ways are valid, but I want to ask you what you think the best way would be to motivate young learners. So here are your 4 choices. Set clear goals, reward success, give them choices, or create a supportive classroom culture. So please choose the best option for you.
Okay, so on your screen, you've got the poll. I see people are already responding. That's great. The question is, what is the best way to motivate young learners? You've got 4 options. Choose one. Number 1 is set clear goals. Number 2 is reward success. Number 3, give them choices. And finally, 4, create a supportive classroom culture. And the answers are coming in fast and furious, and we seem to be having, it seems that create a supportive classroom culture is coming out on top at the moment at 42%, followed by reward success at 31%, followed by give them choices, 17%, and finally 10% for set clear goals. So yes, creative, supportive classroom culture seems to be the most important. Thank you,
Great.
everybody.
So I'm actually going to talk about all of these options, but I was curious to see what the popular vote would be. Today, well, let's talk about motivation. Why is motivation important? Motivation is an important predictor of learning and achievement. Students who are more motivated to learn persist longer, produce higher quality effort, learn more deeply, and also perform better in classes and on standardized tests. So I think we can all agree that motivation is an important factor in our classroom culture. Now, I mentioned 4 ideas in the poll, but there are many ways to motivate students. So I'm also curious to hear your opinions from the classroom. What do you do to motivate young learners in your classroom? This talk is specifically directed at teachers of young learners. Of course, if you also teach adults or teenagers, you can put those ideas as well.
Okay, so in the chat, please put your ideas in answer to this question. What do you do to motivate young learners in your classroom? And they're coming in. I see the first one, which stands out, is passion.
Nice.
Passion, commitment. I try to present work as play.
Good.
David Romero, game-based activities and collaboration. Bev West, play. Elizabeth, we play games and I try to teach both grammar and vocabulary in an active way. Eloisa, gamification. Anna Belen again says games, but also music, plays, theater, fun. Laia Bennett with enthusiasm, praise when they do things well. Meaningful engagement from Sabina Ostro. Martin Wills, I try to be as dynamic as possible. Lorraine says, find out the type of activities that they like to do.
Good.
Yes, and Ellen Louise says, use music, games, stories, making language learning fun. So yes, a variety of activities from Nuria Garcia, teacher-led, but also child-initiated.
Okay.
Empathy. Okay, so we've got a lot of ideas. Team competitions from Aaron.
I particularly like the one about passion and energy. I find in my classes, the teacher has to give 150% for the students to give you 75%. So definitely passion and energy.
Yes.
Whoever put drama, you know me very well. So today I'm going to talk about, Louise, if there are more ideas coming in, I want to keep going if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And thank you, everybody. There are a lot of ideas and there are similar ideas, but I think we all agree that motivation is key. Absolutely.
So today in my short session, I'm going to look at these 5 areas. Create a sense of belonging, play games. In this case, I've thought of some guessing games with flashcards and not with flashcards. TPR activities, total physical response. This you can do in the classroom, or also if you're teaching virtually, getting them moving around. Interactive storytelling. I have a couple ideas of how to get some participation when doing storytelling, and giving students a choice, which someone mentioned in the chat box, getting their input student-led. I think that's an important way to motivate pupils. So before I get into these specific ideas, I just want to say, and Louise also mentioned this at the beginning, that I'm including ideas for all levels of young learners, but most of the activities you can simplify them if you have very young pupils, or you can extend them or make them more difficult if you are teaching older teens, more advanced students. So I think that you can figure out how to adjust them higher or lower depending on who you're teaching. And I've also thought of ideas for both face-to-face learning and virtual online or a hybrid mix. So the first category, topic that I want to talk about is create a sense of belonging. Pupils, students will feel motivated if they feel like they're part of the group. So what do I mean by this? Well, classroom rituals. We're going to look at this in a minute, but just things that you repeat each day that students feel like they're part of this group. They know what's going on. They have their expectations. Another way to create a sense of belonging is to make sure that every child speaks. Some may be more shy, some may have a lower level of English or whatever the target language is, but you want to create a culture of inclusion. Use their names. It helps to really identify, and people like to hear the sound of their own names. It makes them feel part of the group. Social time is still important. So before the pandemic, I imagine your students would arrive at the academy a few minutes before class, and they have this time to talk to each other, to check in, and this might be lacking when we're all in our houses. And so psychologically, I think it's important to do as many activities as possible where they're talking to each other. So I have some ideas for some quick 5-minute games, which I think are important both for learning language, but also for their social and psychological well-being. Taking time to talk, taking time to share ideas, taking time to play games together. So when I talk about classroom rituals, there are many examples of ways you can incorporate rituals into your class. I'm thinking some teachers have a way that they begin the day. There's kind of a saying hello, or it could be a hello song. There could be something where you're talking about the weather today, or a song that welcomes the day. Other classroom rituals, sometimes teachers talk about how you ask to use the bathroom, or the way that you collect materials. Any kind of business that you do, you can establish the correct protocol. They're using English, they're using the language in a natural way. You're also making sure the class is less chaotic if there's a routine that they follow. Doing a classroom job, you can assign different roles, and I think you can do this both virtually and face-to-face. If someone is the language sheriff that makes sure everyone is speaking English, or you can someone is in charge of leading the song, someone is in charge of cleaning up after using materials, things like that. Make sure that you have time for individual work, but also working in pairs or in groups, and that's part of your daily class. And another classroom ritual is ending the day, how you say goodbye. And as far as motivation with rewards, you can hand out stickers or have like an exit question that's quite popular nowadays, where before the student can leave the class, they have to answer a question on a card, like an exit ticket. They can also incorporate some self-evaluation. They think about how they did that day in class. And so if you establish these rituals, it makes them know what's happening. They have their expectations. So you don't need only daily rituals, you can also have monthly rituals. So I have this idea, you could make a video diary, monthly diary for your class. So each month, you, the teacher, you propose a question, and each student can film a short response. They're answering the question. So sample questions could be, what are you most excited about? Or what is the most challenging thing happening right now? And you're kind of making every month this video diary at the end of the year that can look back and reflect on the evolution of the classes. If your students have a low level of English, perhaps their responses are quite short, just words or phrases. But if you have more advanced students, they can use more complete sentences. And I think it's a nice memento to have at the end of the year. You can show their parents, and it also contributes to their emotional well-being because they're expressing how they're feeling depending on the questions you ask. You can go there, or you can keep it very light depending on what you want to ask them. You can also incorporate yearly rituals, celebrating holidays, big events, birthdays. What are you doing next week? What are you doing for this holiday? I think it's important to celebrate these yearly rituals in class, part of your routine. This example is from Academy Stars 3. There's a birthday song asking about birthdays and other yearly events. So I've provided some ideas, but I'm curious to know, what other rituals do you use in your classroom? If there are other ideas I haven't thought of, please add them to the chat box.
Okay, so please participate here in the chat box in answer to this question. So what other rituals do you use in your classroom that Sky hasn't mentioned? Passwords, a chant,
Good.
where they promise to speak in English. Nuria says, not sure if you mentioned feelings and emotions, expressing
Nice.
feelings. Yeah. A point system in rewards, that was mentioned, but it is, yes, I think it's important. Lyrics training with juniors. It's a website, which I'm sure you know, Sky, and I'm sure a lot of people out there know about it. It's quite popular. Elizabeth Reshak says, going out for 10 or 15 minutes and play a game such as Simon Says, just as a way of activating them in a physical way. You mentioned, Sky, about TPR.
Right, we're going to look at some more ideas in a minute.
At the start of class, Lucy says, what did you do at school today? So she asks what they did at school today. Good. So making a connection with the rest of their life. Then write the date and weather on the board and copy it down.
Great.
Somebody else, Ellen Louise, is saying a game at the end of the class, of every class, to round off, asking how they are feeling. Star charts is another one. That's from Martin. Okay.
Wait, does star chart mean their astrological sign? Are you, when were you born? Jupiter rising.
Or it could be, you know, those charts, it's like a mind map kind of activity. Exactly. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we've got a lot of ideas there.
Yes. So someone mentioned a 5-minute game here, some ideas of some quick games. A 5-minute game is important for their social and psychological well-being. It doesn't feel like class. Someone in the chat box mentioned work as play. If they're playing and using English, it doesn't feel like their sit-down school day. And quick games are good when everyone participates. There's sort of less pressure to perform individually if everyone is playing a game together. So here are a couple quick ideas. Louise, there is a handout they will receive at some point. Okay.
Yes. I put that in the chat box, and I'll just say again, We are recording the event and we'll send the recording with the handouts for both sessions by Sky and Claire, as well as the certificate of attendance early next week by
Right,
email.
so I'm sure you're all frantically taking notes on my amazing ideas, but you don't need to. There will be a handout. So this idea, quickly, a photo story, you cut out photos either from a magazine or a newspaper or whatever, and you give each pupil, each student has a photo, and then they have to invent a story. So given these photos, maybe someone has the photo of the money and they say, for my birthday, I received money. And the next child has the photo of the ice cream. And so she can say, I was hungry, I bought an ice cream. And the third student has the picture of the thunderstorm and could say, I mean, each pupil is inventing the story how they want it to go. It started raining and I ran, I was scared, I dropped the ice cream, etc., etc. So the photos are inspiring them to invent a story. Another 5-minute activity, quick activity, is called Where is the Chair? So you can do this in the classroom with a chair, or if you're at home, as in my case, I'm in my house, I have the chair, and depending on how I use the chair, it could be a horse, or it could be a motorcycle, or I could be miming playing the piano. And so one child performs a mime scene using the chair, and the other students have to guess where the person is. You could also then make it into a longer scene. You could add dialogue or simply just a 5-minute mime activity. Another one I like, this is working with phonetics. It's called Busy Bees. Again, for young learners, they all run around the room like bzzz, like bees. And then the teacher, you say stop, and you say a sound. So you could say ma 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 ma, or pa 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 pa. You say the phoneme, and your students have to think of a word that begins with that consonant sound. So if the sound is ma 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 ma, then they have 10 seconds to be an object. So one person could be a mother, one person could be a monkey, and they're acting it out, and then you or the other students have to guess what they are acting out. That's Busy Bees. And What Are You Doing? If you're in the classroom, you have everyone stand up in a circle, or you establish the order, who goes first, who goes second. In a virtual class, again, depending on the platform you're using, you would have to say, Marcos, you follow Anna, Anna, you follow Blanca, Blanca, you follow Carlos. So you establish the order. One person asks, what are you doing? And that person says an activity with present continuous. I'm eating pizza. And the person who asked the question has to mime the action the person said. So if the person says, I'm eating pizza, then suddenly you're eating pizza. The next person asks, what are you doing? And the person has to think of a new activity. I'm playing basketball. And so the person has to mime playing basketball. So again, a quick activity, practicing verbs in present continuous. The next category, ways to motivate your students, playing games, in this case, guessing games. So I've thought of some flashcard games. You can also use the options in the platform you're using. I don't know if with your virtual classes, you're using Google Hangouts or Microsoft Teams or your own Academy platform, or I use Zoom like we're using today. Games like I'm thinking of, what am I, variations of guessing games, or what would you do if. You present a situation and pupils have to decide what they would do if they were in that situation. So for flashcard games, we have the slow reveal. I'm sure you know this, but I thought it's worth going through. The slow reveal, which you would do with the camera, you slowly reveal the card, or if you're in the face-to-face class, you do it face-to-face. Another option is the magic window. So I've made this magic window, and you put the flashcard inside. Louise, can you see this?
Yes.
And you sort of move it around the magic window. Louise, do you know what it is?
Let me, oh, I think I do. Oh, it's a horse.
That's for you, right? So the magic
Thank you.
window, the quick flip again with a camera or not, you just quick flip it
Goat.
around, right? So it's a goat. The quick pass by the camera, so you just go really
I didn't
quickly.
get that. I didn't get that. Oh yeah, a dog.
Okay, right. The quick pass by the camera. Or now this one, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I'm gonna see if this works. Can everyone see me? All right. Here's what I've done. You see, this is my house. You can put the flashcards in different places in the room behind you. I practiced this earlier, yes? And right. So what you do is you have your students ask which flashcard, the green one on the plant or the red one on the lamp, and then you can turn them around and show them the flashcards. And so it can also be a memory game, but you're using the space in your house to show the different flashcards. It's a way of making it a bit more dynamic. You're not just holding it, but the students have to guess or identify the different. Someone said fluffy. It's true. It is fluffy. Yes, that was the flashcard. Okay, back to the presentation. So just a way of using flashcard games. If you're in your house teaching virtually, you don't have to always hold them. You can put them around the room and you walk around and find them. Okay, other games. Depending on what platform you're using, if you're using Zoom, there are participation elements. I think they're called responses. They can be emojis. There's the thumbs up. There's the clapping. Of course, there's a chat box. Get your students to share their screen, various ways to keep them participating through whatever virtual platform you're using, or simply actual gestures. You can say, put your hands on your head if you know the answer, or touch your ears if you know where Fluffy is, or whatever. Just keeping them active in front of the camera, either by moving themselves or by using the participation options in the platform. So another activity that requires little explanation but gets young learners talking together are what am I riddles. I'm going to do an example. The category is farm animals, and I probably would have to pre-teach some key vocabulary before starting this activity. So I would teach words like fur, wings, horns, just some key words that would go with farm animals in this case. So are we ready? If you know the answer, you can put the answer in the chat box. These are the 4 clues, getting more and more specific. First clue, I live on a farm. Could be anything. I have horns. So getting more specific. I give milk. All right, we're getting more specific.
Is it a goat? Is it a goat?
And I move. Right, so I'm going very quickly because I still have a few more activities to get through. So you would take more time and have them guess after each clue. There are lots of guessing games. It doesn't have to be simply farm animals. It could be jungle animals or safari animals. You can talk about the different qualities the animals have. There are, there aren't, they have, they don't have. This is another example from Academy Stars where you can see there's a guessing game at the end. For more advanced pupils, you could present a more difficult problem for them to solve. I like survivor situations. So you say you and your friends are on a boat and the boat had an accident and the boat sank and you swam to an island. You are trapped, you are stranded on an island, and you can bring one object with you. Again, I would scaffold some structures. For example, I would bring blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah would be useful. Maybe show some pictures, get them thinking, a penknife or matches or a tarp to sort of, I usually put in a silly thing like a stuffed animal or I don't know, a kind of red herring to get them thinking of, they could bring anything. So We're going to do our second poll. Which object would you bring in this situation? You're stranded on an island. Would you bring a knife, a mobile phone, a sleeping bag, or water purification tablets? Let's see.
Okay, so the poll will appear on your screen now. Which object would you bring? A knife, a mobile phone, a sleeping bag, or water purification tablets? Let's see, this poll is there. And it's a difficult one, Sky.
I know.
It's difficult to choose just one.
Yeah.
I wonder about the mobile phone. Would people give up their mobile phone? Is that possible?
If you have enough battery.
Or if it's sun driven.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. It seems that there's a majority at the moment of 50% saying a knife.
Yeah.
Followed by water purification tablets at 38%, followed by sleeping bag. A mobile phone is
Perfect.
Lost.
So you could do this activity like this where you give them 4 choices and they vote, but I think it's probably better if you have them talking to each other. So first, and it doesn't have to be one object, it could be 3 objects. So you could say, think of 3 objects you would bring, write them down. Then you have one pupil talk to another pupil and they compare, and together they have to decide the best 3 objects from each of what each person wrote down. Then tell another pair your survivor objects. If you're doing this virtually in Zoom, you could use breakout rooms, having them talking together. And finally, tell me, the teacher, your survivor objects. And you can ask them questions like, why would you choose this? What about this? Did you change your mind? Did you convince each other? Getting them to think critically and work together. The next category is TPR, total physical response activities. The benefits of TPR helps learners understand the target language and aids in long-term retention in a stress-free approach. It can be used to teach vocabulary, connected to actions, classroom directions, and storytelling, promotes engagement, and develops listening fluency. Okay, so I like to do lots of songs with movements. I'm sure everyone knows head, shoulders, knees and toes, or Simon Says, but I don't have time to click on all of these videos, but these are in the handout. The Hokey Pokey, Father Abraham, the skeleton dance, that's dem bones, the knee bones connected to the leg bone, right? And they're all songs where there's very clear actions, right arm, left arm moving, and saying the body part, getting them associating the kinesthetic learning, the words and the movements. If you don't want to use these songs, you can use, this is a Scottish folk tune, My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. And every time they hear the sound, but, they have to stand up or sit down. The Macarena, oldie but goodie, classic song with movement. YMCA, get them doing some dancing with that. And even just on YouTube, finding some Zumba routine, getting them to dance and move, and you yourself can say the actions or say the body parts. Also, movement stories. There are stories that naturally involve exploration, moving around. I've chosen We're Going on a Bear Hunt. They go through mud, they cross a river, they go through a snowstorm. So as you're reading the story, you can create the different environments and have them acted out. Another phonics movement game, stand up, sit down, you read a story. This is from Academy Stars, and every time you hear the sound, so look, the prince who wasn't hungry, if they're sitting down, they stand up. If they're standing up, they sit down, getting them really paying attention to the sounds. Studying the weather. You can also have them act out the weather, whether it's sunny or cloudy or rainy. I always bring just a newspaper and you have them act out, oh, it's hot, and everyone is using the newspaper, or it's raining, or it's windy, right? And they're using the newspaper. In fact, you can use newspapers in lots of different ways. You can review weather vocabulary. You can have a fashion show. You ask them to fold their newspaper and make a hat or a scarf or some kind of clothing accessory, and then they have a fashion show, or any costumes or props in a story that you're reading. This is an example, obviously, of the royal family. Another activity, an indoor scavenger hunt, where if your students are at home, you have them go and find things and show them to you with the camera, again, getting them to move around out of their chairs. Chat question, what other TPR activities or any movement activities do you use in your classroom? Please use the chat box.
Okay. So we'll give you a couple of seconds to write your answers in the chat. Do you have any other action activities, TPR activities that you use and work well in your classes? Please share now. This is a great opportunity. Musical chairs.
Oh, great.
You. Hide and seek.
Great.
Playing outside with a softball and using word categories. Nice one. Touch your toes, touch your, look at, running dictation, race competition, Simon says. Fruit salad.
Oh, I love fruit salad.
I know. When student changes objects in the classroom, the color monster is a great story, and then they make their own. What else? I make them practice thinking about left and right as well. If you like pizza, raise your right hand.
Great.
If you like, raise your left.
I'm going to keep going, Louise. I have a couple more
I know.
slides.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. You've got great ideas. Take notes, eh?
Interactive storytelling. I'm just going to go through these relatively quickly. Choral response, when you're asking for the students to repeat something back when you tell the story, fill in the missing word or complete the sentence. As you're reading a story, you take a pause. If it's a repetitive part of the story, the pupils will know what word goes next, or pausing and asking them what happens next. For choral response, I love the story, What's That Noise? And it's group one, every time they hear the word mouse or house, they have to make a sound effect. Group two, they have to make sound effects with the adjectives like scared or worried. And group three, every time you say the word upstairs or downstairs or violin, they make the sound effects. You're getting them to participate as you're reading the story. What happens next? You start a story. This is from Academy Stars. Ted and his family are sailing to India. It's winter. The sea is cold and the wind is blowing. The boat is going up and down, up and down. Ted doesn't like sailing. You stop. You ask your students to predict what's going to happen. And the final category, ways to encourage motivation, is give students a choice. When you're doing any kind of arts and crafts project, I advise showing multiple examples. We just had Easter week. Maybe you're making bunny masks. Show different possible ways, different masks they could make. This way you're encouraging creativity, and not everyone is following the exact same instructions. There's a bit more personal choice. If you ever do a project, you can give your students a choice of format. If you say, we're going to learn about how to be healthy, and then you say that they can choose, you can write a page about it, or make a poster, or prepare a scene, or a speech, or make a presentation or a video. So if it's healthy food, they could make a arts and crafts lunchbox. If it's healthy food, they could make the school lunch menu for the month, or they could make a exercise or workout video. So, oh, someone's ringing my bell. Those are ideas for different projects. And that's it. If you can put any comments and questions in the chat box.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Skye. that was great, really, really practical, great ideas. And it's also lovely to see all the ideas that people have been sharing in the chat box. I think this is a wonderful opportunity, a great forum for people to share with each other. People are saying great ideas. Thank you, Sky. Thank you so much. Fantastic ideas. I'm just checking to see if there's any question. I really like the monthly video diary idea. Fantastic. Yeah. So lots of really positive comments.
I'm
Sky.
glad.
Thank you so much for this talk. It's really been very motivating, very inspiring. And I think we also feel your great energy. And that's so important at the moment, isn't it? Because I think we're all sort of 1 year and almost 2 months down the line, we're all a little bit tired. So it's great to have this energy boost now. Great. Okay, well, thank you, Sky.
Thank you, Louise.
And thanks to everybody out there for participating so much and for sharing your ideas with all of us. And I hope to see you all again sometime not too far in the future, soon again. And I wish you all the very good rest of the week and also the best possible finish to the course this year. So thank you very much and see you all soon. Bye.